Have you ever cared about something so much, whether it's animal welfare, whether it's another social justice issue, that you find yourself putting your whole heart and soul, time and energy, every bit of effort into this cause that you care so deeply about, that you hit a wall? You reach a certain point where you question whether or not you can continue caring so much and advocating as hard as you do. That's something I want you to think about today as we are joined by Tim Lydon, the founder of Harmony Dog Rescue, based in Pittsburgh. And we also have with us Kat Ferge and Summer Black, both co-founders of Kitten Snatchers, a cat rescue nonprofit based in Philadelphia. So welcome to the podcast, everyone. And for those of you who don't know, I have my illustrious co-host, Hillary Wheeler, medical director of the Street Dog Coalition, here to join us today. So it's really great to have you.
So glad to be here again, and I'm excited to get the party started with our amazing guests.
Oh yeah, let's get this party started. And as promised, I want to, our audience might be familiar with the three of you as you've previously been guests on the podcast, but maybe we can kind of go around the room. And I would love for our guests to just introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your animal advocacy, your animal rescue efforts.
Sounds good. I'll start. I'm Kat. Summer and I run Kitten Snatchers together. Been doing this for almost 4 years now, and I can't believe that it's already been 4 years. It feels sometimes it feels like 20 years, and sometimes it feels like 4 months. So we are, rescuing kittens in Philadelphia. Usually work with a lot of trappers together, taking in some of the medical cases, and lately a lot of them. It's been a tough 2 weeks for us. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell. Me in a nutshell. I've been doing animal rescue probably for the past 8 years or something, and 4 years now with the own rescue.
Amazing. Thank you
All
for
right.
sharing that with us.
Thanks, Kat. Welcome back.
I'm Summer. I'm the other half of Kitten Snatchers. So I just second what Kat says. It's been crazy. It's not slowing down. A lot of sick kitties right now, like she just said. Really some weird things we've been seeing lately. It's been hard on us financially and emotionally. So yeah, here we are. We're gonna keep going though.
Yeah.
Hi, Kat and Summer. It's an honor to be here with you two. When I got Daria's invitation, I read about you and your organization, and it's awesome. So great to meet you. And we're representing the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania here. So we're all from PA. I think Daria, you're in Jersey, right, Daria? I don't know
I
where everyone
am.
is.
I'm in Jersey.
Okay.
I'm outside of Philly. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I co-founded an organization called Harmony Dog Rescue. We're actually on June 7th, we turned 6 months old. So we're very new. It was a milestone for us. We feel really good about where we're at. And Daria, your question, it was really interesting. On my homepage, I wrote out your 4 questions that we'll be exploring during this podcast, but I don't have any answers. So I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say, but we're still learning how to, a work-life balance with being in the rescue world. So anyway, it's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that. And that's part of why we're talking about this topic today. Is we know there are no easy answers, and our hope is that by raising awareness about compassion fatigue and how it can affect those of us working with animals and advocacy, how we can all work together and find support in one another. So we're thrilled you're here. We appreciate you taking time because we know it's so precious. And hopefully we can have this conversation and get the feedback from our audience as well. And we know it's going to be a conversation that we continue from here.
Excited. Yeah, I think it's a very important topic, and I don't think we talk about it enough. And that, especially for me, it's always like, I think the public doesn't realize how much we have on our plate as rescuers, as getting all the, and I'm looking here at Summer, like getting all the intake emails and looking at like all the cats that need help. I had an epiphany the other day a little bit. Even our fosters don't know what we're actually doing. We had an adoption event, and I just randomly mentioned, like, you know, we have like 150 animals in the rescue, and they're like, what? It's like, yeah, that's how many animals like the two of us are responsible for.
Wow.
And it's a lot. Like, you know, if you have, I think like Summer helped me, we had like what, five or six cases, sick cases in like the last 2 weeks only, and it were severe cases with two animals unfortunately not making it. And like that's just the two of us who have to deal with, you know, sending them to the vet, talking to the vet, talking to the foster, just, you know, like dispensing medication, making sure that we follow up. We have to also keep in mind, like, you know, some of those animals have been sick a couple months ago. We have to follow up and see, like, where are they now? So it's kind of like, I think that those are the things that people don't see from the outside in that we are handling. All the intake requests. I don't even know how Summer does it because I'm not really involved in intake, and I don't want to be honest, because I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we've referenced this analogy, I think, on the podcast before, maybe not, but you know, you think about ducks in the water and it looks so smooth and seamless and simple because you're not seeing what they're doing beneath the water, and they're paddling furiously, right? And that's what I think all of us are doing in this field and our respective fields of experience with animal advocacy is you're trying to make at least come off with the appearance of everything's under control and staying calm and focused in the moment, right? But you know, you're juggling so many different things inside and outside of what that situation is. And I think that's important to raise awareness and make sure people do know that. And maybe also getting a little more support for your individual efforts with what you're doing. We tend to not ask for help. And sometimes you feel too busy to ask for help, but that may be one of the things hopefully we can all get from this. I mean, really, we know, and Tim, you referenced that we don't have the answers, but you know, one of the questions is, how do you find balance between caring for animals and caring for yourselves? And my guess is a lot of you are going to say, I'm not. But we know there are small little simple things that you may do just to get you through the day or to get you through the moment in that one particular crazy scenario. So anything that you can share of what's worked for you, what you think might work for you going forward, and hopefully again, we can all benefit from sharing these ideas. So Tim, I'll let you start. I'll put you in the spotlight on that one.
Yeah, sure. So with Daria's questions, I had what should I do and what do I do? So I'm not going to share what I do. But
I love it.
yeah, so you know, like spending more time with friends, not isolating myself so much, not drinking coffee all day instead of eating food, you know, just having a better work-life balance. But one thing I did want to say, and I'm curious what Kat and Summer would say to this, what I really like about rescue is that it's a lifestyle. Like the 9 to 5 life, I tried it a bunch of times. It never suited me. And I like how rescue is just kind of all the time. And I know this doesn't suit everyone, and that's why only kind of crazy people do this work. But like we went to an event on Saturday, and then we got a call about a dog who was left behind in a house for a woman who went to the hospital. So we went to this event. It was like our social thing, and then we went and checked on this dog, and it just all felt right. Like, so that's kind of the fact that we don't, you know, check in at 9 a.m. and then check out at 5 in a weird way makes it easier to have a work-life balance. I'm not sure if anyone else kind of feels this way, but I kind of like how it's Saturday and Sunday night sometimes, Monday, Tuesday morning before I go to my real job. I'm kind of always on call. And I realize the risk of living this way is you can burn out quicker. But I'm just curious if anyone else has any thoughts on, you know, rescue as a lifestyle where you're not necessarily off the clock at any time.
I see Kat has something to say.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, thinking out loud here. I think to me, yes, you're on around the clock, and Summer and I, we have an emergency phone line for our fosters. If there is a medical emergency that they can call us 24/7, it is there. However, it is sometimes, I feel it's sometimes really hard to juggle my current job with the rescue life because my job is very demanding. And sometimes I just don't have, like, I have to take hours off of work that I have to put somewhere else to be able to, you know, handle an emergency situation. And I know that Summer feels the same. Like, you know, that there's situations was like, oh my God, how are we going to handle this right now? Because we're both working, we're both like, you know, technically in meetings on the phone, whatever, but there's an emergency. So I think that is like where for me it comes in, where it's really hard sometimes not to lose my cool and not to get super anxious. But yeah, like you said, Tim, like I think Summer and I lean a lot on Summer, and I think it's vice versa. And like, you know, also making sure that when we are together and actually like doing something fun, that is not all that we talk about is the rescue. I think that's
It's
also
hard.
for me.
That's hard, but
It's
we've
hard.
gotten better. We're also really good friends, so we hang out outside of rescue.
I love this. And what I'm hearing is, and this is, you know, I'm part of a handful of different vegan activist groups too. And some advice that I received a few years ago that I thought was really helpful is just in line with what you guys are talking about. And it's as simple as trying to establish interests and an identity, and even maybe something you care about almost as much as rescue work, that can be this kind of reprieve from the rescue work that you do, from the advocacy that you do, because it's hard and it's thankless and it's a lot of hours, and you want to try to be as fresh as you possibly can for both your, you know, your day job and the animals you take care of and the fosters who are lending their time, you know, to this cause and this mission. And for me personally, I've found yoga to be quite relaxing. And I realize that's a luxury that I have access to, just time and a great yoga studio. And I'm wondering if, and I also like yoga because of that, you know, compassion aspect as well. It feels like it has nothing to do with animal advocacy, but the values of yoga feel at least similar enough to animal advocacy and compassion for all. And I'm wondering if maybe we can kind of go through the line real quick. Is there like an activity or something that you do, or even a moment, an experience you had where you felt overwhelmed by compassion fatigue? How did you cope with that moment, or how do you generally personally cope with compassion fatigue?
I don't think it's very it's probably maladaptive, but I definitely like to go out and have some cocktails. So that's one way that I deal with things. But
Yes.
that's also part of my social life too, though. I mean, my husband and I like to go out and have dinner and have snacks and have cocktails. So I mean, Kat and I both love going to concerts, so she's always at a concert. They know her by first name
I
at
love
Camden,
it.
at the Camden place. What is it called? Whatever it's called now. So I mean, for me personally, I do a lot of things. I craft. That's a huge thing for me that helps me take away my stress.
What kind of crafting? I have to ask.
Yeah.
Oh God, I make so much stuff. I'm actually working on a latch hook right now. I've just started doing that again. It's like something I did as a kid, and I'm really finding it very soothing to sit on the couch and like work on this project. It's been really nice.
I
But
love that.
it's
Yeah.
fun. And but I do make earrings and jewelry, and it's all horror themed, Halloween themed.
I
Yes.
love it.
I have a little business, but we're not here for that. That's my side hustle.
I love
But-
that. Good for you. It's funny, Kat and I actually met at a concert event. So I
Yeah.
believe that Kat is always enjoying live music. Anything else other than live music, Kat, that really
I mean, yes, like Summer said, like any kind of social intervention, but sometimes it's also just to like shut off my cell phone. Like, so we give each other days off from the rescue. Like
Oh,
we
nice.
have designated days where we do not log into email, and we try to usually leave each other alone when it comes to like rescue talk. It doesn't always work, but we try. And that gives you a time, like a day where you can just like focus on other things, and you do not have to be like, oh God, like I have to do this and this and this. I think that's helpful. And honestly, one thing that we do a lot and that to me is helpful is just vent.
I
Venting,
love the honesty here. Keep going.
honestly, like if there are things that are just upsetting, venting to my business partner and best friend, and I know it's going to stay between her and me, is helpful. I would probably not say a lot of the things I would never say in public that I say to her in private, but it helps,
true.
you know, it helps
Both
to
of
get
us.
that like that frustration out sometimes that we build up. And
So
it's
just
not
being
only because of
transparent
animals,
with
it's
one
because
another.
of who are we dealing with
Right,
as the
right.
rescue. Like always say the human factor in rescue is the most difficult to deal with. It's not the sick animals. So that kind of like also count, like, you know, fills that compassion fatigue, you know, that you already have because you're dealing with all these sick animals or animals that are needing help. And so, yeah, venting.
I love it.
Number
I
one
love
thing
it.
that helps me to get like anxiety out or like frustration.
Tim's probably thinking he needs to recruit a close friend to get into this business with him. Maybe you already do. What do you do, Tim?
Tim, you're actually muted, but I feel some gems of wisdom coming out.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, venting is so essential. There's a woman who runs another rescue here in Pittsburgh, and that's what we do. We call each other every few weeks and we just vent. You know, we put each other on speaker and we just let it all out, and it's really good for both of us. But yeah, I follow Daria on Instagram and I see her doing yoga. I'm like, it'd be really a good idea for me to like take deep breaths and stretch. I don't know. My decompression is not as active as yours. I usually just lay on the couch and watch basketball,
Love
and it like
that.
turns my brain off.
Just
Me
Netflix
consuming
and
media,
chill.
yeah, it turns the brain off. It's really essential. But something that Kat said is really resonated with me. I mean, the human factor is the most difficult thing to deal with. And so our rescue, I didn't mention in the beginning, we provide safe homes for dogs whose owners are in crisis. So we essentially have two clients every time we get a request for our, you know, the human and the pet, because the human needs just as much care and attention and compassion as the pet. So that's been really hard. It's, you know, the dog stuff, we have a really good system in place and we trust our process and we're happy with that. But the human stuff has just been, it's been really difficult. And we're learning to be more patient and to be more flexible. But yeah, that's been the hardest part for sure. The dog stuff is easy. So we're learning. So another way to put it is we're learning how to be just better humans, you know, treating people with more compassion and patience because of this work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shutting off I mean, if I were to shut off your cell phone, that's such a victory. I mean, what a triumph that would be. We're not there yet. I hope we can get to the point where we can turn our cell phones off for a day. That sounds amazing.
That's like a life goal of mine.
I know.
And
Really
my
is.
work isn't even as urgent as your work. Not even tiny. Talk
I
about
know.
like release. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I know Hillary has one final question for you. And I just want to kind of summarize all these responses by the word that keeps coming to mind for me is this idea of pausing and like just taking a moment, whatever that moment looks like for you, whether it's vegging out to basketball, whether it's grabbing a drink, or even if it's like stopping before responding to an individual that's like driving you crazy, no matter how well intentioned they are. But this idea of taking an intentional, mindful pause, no matter how small or big that is, I feel like that's like the commonality between all the responses I'm hearing here. And Hillary, I'd love for you to kind of like take us home with our final question. We have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've actually jumped into a little bit of
Yeah.
what we would propose or advise other rescuers and advocates who may be struggling with compassion fatigue. And one thing I'm hearing from all of you is you all find this incredible amount of compassion and extend this grace to the people, to the humans that you're dealing with. And we know the animal part is almost easier. It's definitely a less complex relationship that we experience. That's why we love animals, that unconditional love. But what we all need to recognize is we have to extend that same degree of compassion to ourselves and be gentle with ourselves, and remembering that there are other people out there that are doing this work that understand what the challenges may be And it's not bad if you experience compassion fatigue. I think it's just recognizing what that is and being aware of it, and whatever that looks like for you to decompress, like Tim said, just hanging out, tuning everything out. I've done that before where I can binge like nobody's business, you know, and just disconnect yourself. I always laugh that self-care could be sitting in the driveway in your car and just taking a minute before you go inside. I mean, sometimes we just have to reach for those opportunities whenever possible. And I think I'm sure you're all very good at telling others what you think might help them. But I think maybe extending out to our community, we know there are a lot of people doing the type of work that you do in different facets. What advice would you give to them if they do find themselves hitting that wall and struggling with compassion fatigue to the extent where they need help? What's one little pearl of wisdom that you could share with them?
I think something I've noticed with some of the other rescues in our area that, well, two things that I've noticed. They are either the best and like want to be helpful. There's no middle ground with the rescues here. Like they either want to be helpful, work together, or they hate you. So I think that trying to just ignore all the negativity and all the bad things that people say about you, is a huge step. And to actually reach out and learn who your friends are in rescue, like learn who's going to help you and who's going to have your back and isn't going to badmouth you. And that takes a lot of time. So Tim, like, I know you're newer to this, but you've probably been in rescue longer. Like, I'm sure you guys in dog rescue have the same drama. So, you know, you just got to find who your friends are and like who you can turn to and who you can trust and oh, you found somebody. So that's great. Like you have somebody that you can vent to, but I think we all need that. Like not everybody has a cat and a Summer in their lives. We're lucky to have each other. So I don't know.
Yeah, and to build on that, actually, I think that's talking about it. Really, like, and that's again, I'm coming back to the venting. Like, you have to talk about how you feel and how you're coping. And like, you can't expect other people to understand why you might be reacting the way you are without saying, like, hey, I'm just underwater and I'm just trying not to, completely drown. And I think once you say that out loud, you will actually be surprised how many people will say, like, okay, that's okay, take your time, it's fine. Will everybody help you? No, but it makes you feel better if you can just say, like, listen, I've had a day. I need some time. And then, like Summer said, we have each other, and that helps a ton.
Sometimes we fight.
It happens.
I love that. And I think
It
that,
happens.
what I'm hearing here is that it's always best to be transparent and to communicate. I know, Tim, you do that as well. And I think sometimes, if we get to a place where we're not doing that, we start to like create stories in our head of like things that don't exist and like wondering, what are people thinking about me, or what do I think about this? And it just becomes this internal monologue of doom. So I really appreciate that closing advice. And I really appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to hang today. Hillary in her cool Street Dog Coalition hat. And then we have the whole Commonwealth of Pennsylvania here representing from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. I just watched this episode the other day of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Charlie they have to explain to Charlie that like Pittsburgh is another city in Pennsylvania. He just thinks Pennsylvania is Philadelphia and his mind is blown. So I highly recommend checking out that episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
And
Checking
come
out
to Pittsburgh. Come
and
visit.
come to Pittsburgh. Yes.
I was just here
Right.
last weekend.
Oh no.
Okay. Well,
I'll catch you next time.
that's right. That's right. Please do. And I want to invite our audience to also check out the previous episodes we have with Tim, the previous episodes we have with Kat and Summer as well. Really, really fabulous nuggets of wisdom on those episodes. I want to thank you guys. Hillary, best co-host ever. Thank you all. And thank you to our audience for tuning in today. This was really, really exciting. I personally feel a little bit less alone in the work that I'm doing, a little bit more seen, felt, heard, and understood. So I hope our audience is feeling the exact same way. So thank you again, each of you, for joining me today. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. Until next time, and you know there's going to be a next time.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.